I think we are more politically divided in this country than we've ever been before. Racial divide since I've been alive. A lot of divide in this country right now. So we heard from Peter Doocy, Fox News reporter covering the Biden campaign, but I want to dive a little deeper into Joe Biden. If you're still undecided, and what better person to do that with? The former senior advisor to Barack Obama, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Say what you want about Barack Obama, a good man, good father, good husband, great speaker, very intelligent, classy. Those are the words I would use for the Obama administration, and she is the former senior advisor to Barack Obama. She is Valerie Jarrett, who joins us right now on the line. Valerie, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Well, thank you so much, Brian. What a lovely introduction. I'm delighted to be here with you on this last day before Election Day.
Well, I appreciate that, Valerie. So let me just so you're aware, I voted for Joe Biden. My co-host voted for Donald Trump, so we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. But let's start with Joe Biden. I want to start with this question because you know Barack Obama very well, of course, working for him, and you know Joe Biden. This is the question I've always wanted to know. Why is it that I always wanted to know this. Why is it that Obama didn't come out with his support for Joe Biden earlier? I always wanted to know that. Is it because he wanted to just stay out of the political spectrum and wait until the front runner? Why is that, do you think?
I think as a senior statesman for the party, it was important for him to let all of the folks who wanted to run to get out there and run their best races and not put his thumb on the scale too early. He thinks it was really important that each candidate in his own party have that opportunity.
Sure.
He was willing. He met with a bunch of them. I think every one of them who was running came in his office, and he wanted the strongest candidate to emerge. But believe me, now that Joe Biden is the nominee, as you have seen, he is all in. He's on that campaign trail, making the case that only he can make for why Joe's the guy.
Absolutely. And listen, make no mistake about it. I loved Obama's speeches over the weekend. I thought they were fantastic. I have to say this, though, and I mentioned this earlier in the show. I think it's not an easy thing to speak after Barack Obama. I mean, he's such a fantastic public speaker. Do you think that's a little bit of a challenge for Joe Biden? I thought Biden did a great job over the weekend also. But, I mean, how difficult is it to speak after one of the most distinguished and well-spoken presidents, in my opinion, in Barack Obama?
I can tell you, Joe Biden was delighted to have President Obama out there speaking on his behalf. The entire speech was dedicated to why Joe Biden should win the election. I think he was thrilled with his speech and perfectly comfortable following President Obama. They were a terrific team. They are close friends. They have respect for one another. And Joe Biden appreciates the fact that former President Obama is still really popular, and so he wanted him out there campaigning.
Sure, no question. Valerie, what did you make of the incidents that have taken place in New York, New Jersey, and Texas? Texas, of course, I'm talking about that Joe Biden bus and the Trump supporters that were surrounding that bus. Now the FBI is investigating. Yeah. What did you make of that incident, and have Barack Obama, Joe Biden, have they said anything to you about that? What did you make of that? Because that's a scary situation.
It's a very scary situation. I'm glad to hear that the FBI is investigating it. They were putting people in harm's way, and I was troubled to see President Trump tweet out patriots. That's not patriotic, threatening each other on the road. I don't think that we should be encouraging that kind of behavior. And so I think, look, part of the reason why I support Joe Biden is that he has a strong moral compass pointing towards straight north. He has character and integrity, competency and empathy, and he will bring our country together. He won't be pitting us against one another and saber-rattling about whether or not the election is going to be fair and saying we should stop counting votes at midnight. No, that's not what a democracy is all about. Every vote should count.
Agree. If you're just joining us for speaking with the former senior advisor to Barack Obama, knows Joe Biden, and of course very well, that is Valerie Jarrett. Valerie, can we talk a little bit? I get so frustrated, Valerie, when people call into this show every day for the last 6 months. They say, Joe Biden's not going to make it 4 years. His health is deteriorating. He's got cognitive issues. Number one, I find it so disrespectful. And number two, all of a sudden, every Trump supporter thinks that they're a doctor and they've given Joe Biden a physical. Can you comment on that, the health of Joe Biden? You know this man. You've been around the campaign. What can you say to that?
He's very healthy. He's smart. He has a tenacious grasp of facts. He is rigorous in wonderful physical health. And to the people who say that, they're just repeating the nonsense that they're hearing from who knows where their source of information is. But they're not talking to anybody who has actually worked with Joe Biden, as I have for 8 years, who knows him well. So, look, He is more than ready to be president on day one. He's had the experience of being vice president for 2 terms, and he is ready to move our country forward. And he's picked a terrific running mate with whom he will rely for her advice and counsel. And so I think all that other nonsense is just noise. And frankly, it's a way of not discussing President Trump's track record over the last 4 years, which is what should be at issue.
I agree with you, especially during a global pandemic and the handling of that, which obviously I'm one of those people that think that's one of the worst things that Trump has done in 4 years is the handling of this pandemic. But let's talk a little bit about Joe Biden, the person, Valerie, because this is what I like to. But you know, Joe, I certainly don't know Joe Biden like you do. But the reason why I voted for Joe Biden, and I'm not trying to change anybody's minds. They can make up their own minds. But I voted for Joe Biden, not even necessarily because of policy, because I think Joe Biden is a decent human being. He's a good father, a good husband. He has empathy, and he's a decent man. Can you speak to that? Because I think, to me, that is the biggest difference here in this election between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, because I think we're going to have some decency in the White House if Joe Biden wins. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Brian. He is decent to his core, and he's a man who has suffered more loss than anyone should have to in their lifetime, between losing his wife and his daughter, and then later his son, Bo. And I saw him while Bo was sick and then after his death, and he was devastated. And he took that pain and he channeled it into service and commitment to help our country. And I've seen him in so many settings where he was able to meet people where they are, relate to the pain that they were going through. Even if it wasn't his exact pain, he could feel them. And I worry that we need leaders who have that ability. And when he says, look, I'm running as a Democrat, but I will be president for all of America, I think our country is hungry for that kind of leadership right now. And then I'll tell you on a personal note, when my dad died, his assistant called up and said, Vice President Biden's coming to your office. And I was like, oh, no, I'll go to his. And she's like, nope, he's already up the stairs. He comes and he sits down and he talks to me about what it's like to lose a parent. Now, we're close, but he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to make time. And I still remember him saying, your tears of sadness are going to turn into smiles of joy in time. And you know what? He was right. And I have held on to that through the grief. And I am not unique. I watched him when we went down to Florida after the Pulse nightclub shooting. I watched him with the Sandy Hook families and the empathy that he feels for America. And he will wake up every day thinking about you. He won't be talking about his crowd size or the mean media and people beating up on him. He can absorb all of that pain because he's absorbed a lot more and allow himself to focus on you. An unselfish president, a president who understands he is a public servant first, is what Joe Biden is. And look, I'm just so glad that now the American people are getting to know Joe the way I know him. And I'll tell you, I trust him with my life and the life of my families. I know he will figure out how we get our arms around this COVID-19, not put his head in the sand, not tell us it's going to get better when we had a record high number of infections yesterday. He will build back our economy stronger. He will deal with issues like the racial strife in our country that needs to be addressed and we need to heal. And he'll reach across the aisle and work with Republicans because he has relationships with them. I mean, Lindsey Graham did a video a while ago about Joe being the finest man he knows. The finest man he knows, and his tears in his eyes.
Can I ask you that? Can I ask you about Lindsey Graham? I'm so glad you brought him up because has he turned into a two-faced phony. And let me just okay. You remember, Valerie, when Donald Trump was running for president, it was Lindsey Graham that said that Donald Trump was unfit for office. And you're right.
Yes, he did.
And you're right. Lindsey Graham also said that Joe Biden was the finest man he knows. What does it say about somebody like Lindsey Graham when he's out there supporting Donald Trump for president with all the things that Lindsey Graham has said prior to on record?
You know what it says, Brian? It says that Jamie Harrison should win in South Carolina. I don't think, and not only that, let's talk about the Supreme Court, where Lindsey Graham opposed President Obama's selection of Merrick Garland, and then he said, if somebody is nominated within the last year, I would not support it. And then, of course, he supported Amy Coney Barrett. So he's not honest. He's not truthful. He does not stick to a position. There are no principles there. And why would we want anyone representing us who can't do that, who who can't tell the truth. Another issue that President Trump has a great deal of difficulty with. And Joe Biden's attitude is, I'll tell you the truth. America can take the truth. We are tough. We're resilient. If you tell us what we have to do and have to sacrifice in order to come out of this COVID, we'll do it.
You know what?
When you're sending mixed messages and mocking people for wearing masks,
Right.
that's how you end up with 230,000 people dead.
You know, there's one. By the way, if I'm JD Bryan's co-host, I didn't say hi at the beginning, but
You've been very quiet there, JD.
Well, you're very long-winded and very eloquent, so I respect you for that. But if Merrick Garland, if the Democrats controlled the Senate in 2016, Merrick Garland would be a sitting justice. That's really the only difference is who controls the Senate. And after what happened with Kavanaugh, I'm not surprised that Lindsey Graham responded in kind. But you mentioned how Joe Biden always tells the truth. One thing that the American people are really curious about right now, especially those that are independent, do you believe that Joe Biden is going to pack the Supreme Court?
I think that what he has said so far is that he wants to appoint a bipartisan commission made up of both Democrats and Republicans to look at the judiciary, and not just how many people sit on the court, but how long do they serve? What are the qualifications? What should the process be? And I think that that's a healthy thing to do. And look, what happened with Merrick Garland was outrageous. He was appointed in March of 2016. President Obama had nearly a year left in his term in office. And for them to not have even granted Merrick Garland a hearing, here he is the chief judge of the second highest court in the land, and they won't even give him a hearing. They could have had a hearing and then voted him down. That's their prerogative. They wouldn't even grant him a hearing, and the only explanation they gave is it was an election year. They didn't say we control the House and the Senate. And so that kind of duplicity, I think, is one of the reasons why people are getting fed up with government and really wondering about the institution. And I think we need leaders that will rebuild that confidence in the institution. And the institution is only as good as the people who are in office.
Valerie, what else do you think? Because we've seen COVID-19, it's exploding, not just here. It's exploding worldwide. I think there was as high as 600,000 cases in the last couple of days. You've got UK locking down. Germany is locking down. Italy is locking down. France is locking down. We locked down the economy. We shut down travel to China. We've tested almost 150 million people. We've instituted social distancing. We've recommended masks. What else really can we do to stop this virus? And apparently there's going to be, and this is confirmed by Anthony Fauci, a vaccine available for the most vulnerable in late December. What else could be done? What could Biden do differently that Trump hasn't already done?
We could say to everyone, you have to wear a mask. I don't understand how Biden has rallies where no one has on masks, and then you see the Stanford study that shows the number of people at his rallies who later got sick. Part of the challenge here is you have to have a consistent message coming from the White House. You can't both say, we recommend masks from the CDC, and then have the president not wear one. Have super spreader events at the White House. Have rallies that are all about his self-aggrandizement as opposed to the safety of his supporters.
Can I add?
That's number one. Number one, going at the top.
Valerie, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add to what you just said because it's very important. You cited that Stanford study. It says that Trump rallies have caused up to 30,000 COVID cases and led to around 700 deaths. I find that to be so disgusting and troubling. It's just utterly ridiculous. And I'm glad you brought up that study because it's important for people to know that. And then Donald Trump criticizes Biden over time for wearing a mask and for not having thousands of people at his rallies and brags about how many people he has with not even, putting into context how he's putting his own supporters in danger. I want to ask you this. You've been doing this for a long time, Valerie. Who do you think is going to win tomorrow? What do you think is going to happen? And are you concerned, and people around the Biden campaign, are they concerned that Donald Trump is going to refuse to leave office? What are your thoughts on that?
If he loses, he will leave office. I have a high degree of confidence in the legal team that is representing the Biden campaign, and I do believe we'll have a smooth transition of power. It's one of the few times that the Republicans in the Senate have spoken up. When President Trump kind of implied he wouldn't leave, they said, no, we will have a smooth transition of power. But I am worried about the tone and the rhetoric and the potential violence that we have in the streets if President Trump loses. And so I would ask him to ask his supporters to recognize in democracy some people win and some people lose, and that you have to peacefully express through your First Amendment your opinion, But do not take to the streets and do not jump out ahead and declare victory and confuse everybody until you actually are the winner.
Agree.
So I think Vice President Biden will win. I think President Trump will leave office. And I hope that that is the beginning of the healing of America, which is up to all of us to do. That's not just left up to the leaders. We all have to decide we're going to have some grace in our hearts.
Well said. I also want to say a video that went viral, which I appreciated because I am a basketball fan. It was Barack Obama when he was campaigning for Joe Biden over the weekend. Somebody throws him a basketball and he hits an NBA three, and then he walks off and he says, "That's what I do." And I just thought it was so cool. I think we missed that.
He always takes that shot.
Yeah,
and
he
I always
does.
tell him, don't do it. It's going to be so embarrassing.
Yeah. You know what?
You right? But he takes
You're
the
right.
shot, and it was
Listen,
like all net.
I want to say this before we let you go, Valerie, and we appreciate you coming on, by the way. I'm an independent, but I'll tell you something. When I heard Barack Obama speak over the weekend, I said to myself, boy, do we miss that. Class, leadership, somebody who's so well-spoken. I always appreciated Barack Obama for that, as being a good man, a smart man, a dignified man with class. I would say the same thing about his wife, his entire family. And I do echo that. I do absolutely, because that's how you can disagree with Obama's policies. You can be a Republican, and but for these people out there that went after him maybe because of his skin color, went after him and call him Barack Hussein and the birther issue. For those people who did that, I think shame on them, because I think Barack Obama, and I know this, I believe he's a wonderful man, a good man who cares about this country. And I just want to say I appreciate you for coming on, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the election tomorrow. And I hope you're right, as somebody who is not a Trump supporter. I hope you're right. I hope he leaves office. But Valerie Jarrett, thank you for your service, and thank you for what you've done. And we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you too, JB. Take care, you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Valerie.